She draws the same house over and over. A place we've never been. Until last month, creativity, I used to believe, was a kind of magic. I'm a photographer. My life's work is to capture fleeting moments of light and truth. I thought I understood the creative spirit, that mysterious impulse to make something out of nothing. I was wrong. I knew nothing of its depths, its darkness, or its terrifying persistence. My education came from my 6-year-old daughter, Maya, and a house none of us had ever seen. Our home is a study in modern minimalism. Clean lines, neutral. Colors, large windows that invite the world in. It's a space designed for clarity, for order, which is why the drawings felt like an invasion. They started a year ago, innocuous at first. Just doodles, the way any child doodles. But soon, a pattern emerged. A house dot. It was always the same house. An ornate, slightly menacing Victorian, the kind you see in Gothic novels. It had a 3-story turret on the left, a sprawling wraparound porch with intricate gingerbread trim, and a large bay window on the ground floor. It was a house with character, with secrets. At first, Ben and I were charmed. Ben's a software engineer, a man who thinks in code, and he saw it as a sign of a blossoming imagination. I saw the eye of an artist. Look at the detail, Ben, I'd say, spreading the drawings on our polished concrete floor. She's even got the fish scale shingles on the turret. It's remarkable. We praised her, pinned the drawings to the fridge, the proud parents of a budding prodigy. But the volume grew, from one drawing a week, to one a day, to several a day. Our minimalist home was wallpapered with this strange, Gothic mansion. The pride began to curdle into a low-grade unease. Maya wasn't drawing anything else. No smiling. Sons, no stick-figure families, no pets, just the house. Over and over. An obsession. She must have seen it somewhere. Ben insisted one night, after we'd tucked a sleeping Maya into bed. A book, a movie, maybe a puzzle at a friend's house. That night, I began my search. I went through every picture book, every animated movie, every puzzle in our house. I scrolled through our streaming histories. I found nothing. Not a single image that resembled the house that was now seared into my brain. The house, it seemed, existed only in my daughter's mind. The first real tremor of fear, the one that signaled we were dealing with something beyond a child's fixation, came on a rainy Saturday. Maya was sitting at her small table, completely absorbed. When she was finished, she brought the drawing to me. It wasn't the exterior of the house this time. It was a room inside. The detail was breathtaking and terrifying. It was a large, sparsely furnished room, dominated by a massive floor-to-ceiling window that looked out onto a stormy, churning sea. In the center of the room stood a wooden easel, tilted at a precise angle. On the easel was a canvas, half covered in a swirl of gray and blue paint. Jars filled with paintbrushes sat on a small table beside it. But it was the window that made my blood run cold. In the top right corner of the glass, she had drawn a small, jagged line. A crack. It was so specific, so real. As a photographer, I understood light. The way she had captured the gloomy, gray light filtering through that window, illuminating the dust motes in the air. A 6-year-old could not have invented that. She had to have seen it. Maya, honey, I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. What a beautiful room. Where is this? She looked at the drawing, then up at me, her expression serious. It's the painter's room, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. It's where she watches the storms. The painter. A new character had entered the narrative. Soon she began appearing in the drawings. Always from behind, a slender figure with long dark hair tied in a loose bun, sitting on a stool before the easel. Maya never drew her face. The mystery deepened. weaving itself into the fabric of our daily lives. Maya would be in her room, humming a strange, tuneless melody, and I'd walk in to find her staring at a blank wall. "I'm watching the painter," she'd whisper. "She's choosing her colors." She started using words that made no sense in a child's vocabulary. She complained that the ochre crayon was the wrong shade. She asked me if we had any turpentine to clean her brushes. Ben's rationalizations became more strained. He suggested, "We see a child psychologist." We did. The psychologist was a kind, gentle woman who spoke of rich internal worlds and complex fantasy building as a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism for what? Our life was happy, stable, and safe. The psychologist's soothing words felt like a blanket thrown over a chasm. It didn't make the drop any less real. I became an obsessive archivist of the uncanny. I bought a large binder and began cataloging the drawings chronologically. The exterior of the house, the painter's room, then a library with a rolling ladder, and books stacked to the ceiling, a kitchen with a distinctive blue and white floral tile backsplash. Every drawing was a clue, but a clue to what? The house was a ghost haunting our family, and my daughter was its only witness. The breakthrough, the clue that turned the ghost into something real, came from two details in two different drawings. In one, a close-up of the library, Maya had scrawled a single shaky word on the spine of one of the books, Blackwood. In another, a new drawing of the exterior, she had added a weather vane to the very top of the turret. It was shaped like a cormorant, its wings spread against a stormy sky dot. My hands were shaking as I sat down at my computer that night. It was a desperate long shot, a search for a needle in a global haystack. I typed the words into the search bar. Blackwood Cormorant Weather Vane Victorian House Coast. I hit enter. The screen filled with images of coastal birds and modern beach houses. I scrolled and scrolled, my hope dwindling. I was about to give up when I saw it. It was a small, low-resolution photograph on an obscure blog dedicated to coastal architecture. The title of the post was The Forgotten Lady of Blackwood Point, and there it was, my daughter's house, weathered by salt and time, but unmistakable. The 3-story turret, the gingerbread trim, and there, perched on the roof, silhouetted against a gray sky, was the dark shape of a cormorant weather vane. I felt a wave of nausea and triumph. I wasn't crazy. It was real. I printed the photo and waited for Ben to come home, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. I laid the printout on the kitchen island next to one of Maya's drawings. I didn't have to say a word. Ben stared at the 2 images, his face draining of all color. The perfect, logical structure of his world crumbled in that moment. Every rational explanation, every psychological theory evaporated, leaving only a terrifying, impossible truth. "What do we do?" he finally whispered, looking at me, his eyes full of the fear I'd never seen in him before. "We have to go," I said. "We have to see it." The drive to Blackwood Point took 7 hours. We moved from the familiar grid of our suburban life into a wilder, more elemental world. The air grew heavy with the scent of salt and pine. The sky was a vast, moody canvas of gray. Maya was quiet in the back seat, but it wasn't a nervous or excited quiet. It was a quiet of anticipation, of homecoming. We found the house at the end of a winding, unpaved road, perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. It looked exactly like the photograph, only more real, more imposing. A single shutter on a 2nd-story window hung from one hinge, exactly as Maya had drawn it a dozen times. The cormorant weather vane creaked a lonely complaint in the relentless wind dot. We got out of the car. Maya ran ahead, not towards the front door, but around the side of the house. Ben and I exchanged a look and followed. She was standing in front of a small cellar door, half hidden by overgrown bushes. She pointed. "This is the way," she said. Door was unlocked. The air that rose to meet us was cold and smelled of damp earth and something else. A faint, lingering scent of linseed oil and turpentine. We moved through the dark cellar and up a set of creaking stairs into the kitchen. It was like walking into one of Maya's drawings. A thick layer of dust coated everything, capturing the house in a shroud of stillness. But it was all there. The blue and white floral tiles, now cracked and faded. We moved through the silent house, room by room, our footsteps echoing in the oppressive quiet. We found the library, the rolling ladder leaning against a wall of empty shelves, and then we found the painter's room. The light was exactly as Maya had drawn it, gray and diffused. The massive window looked out onto the churning sea, and in the center of the room, waiting for us, was the easel. The dusty canvas still rested on it, and in the top right corner of the window pane, a small, jagged crack spiderwebbed through the glass. I felt my knees go weak. Ben put a hand on my shoulder to steady me. In the corner of the room was a large, sea-worn wooden trunk. Ben knelt and lifted the heavy lid. It wasn't filled with clothes or keepsakes. It was filled with sketchbooks and leather-bound journals. I picked up the top journal. The handwriting inside was elegant, looping cursive. The first entry was dated 1972. It was the journal of a woman named Isabel Blackwood. An artist. We sat on the dusty floor for over an hour, reading. Isabel wrote of her solitude, of her love for the stormy coast, of her obsession with capturing the light. She wrote about her work, her struggles, her small triumphs. She wrote about watching the storms from this very room. She wrote about wanting her work to be seen, a fear that her art would die with her in this house, unseen by the world. Then Ben opened the last sketchbook. It was filled with studies, sketches of waves, of birds, of the gnarled trees along the cliff. And on the very last page, there was a self-portrait. It was a charcoal sketch of a woman with high cheekbones, intelligent eyes, and long, dark hair, tied back in a loose bun. It was her. The painter. Beneath the portrait, she had written a single sentence. "My work here is not finished. The light is still here. Someone must see it." We left the house as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of violet and orange. Maya had fallen asleep in the car, a peaceful, untroubled sleep. The journey home was silent, but it was a different kind of silence. It wasn't tense. It was heavy with the weight of a story that was now ours to carry. This wasn't a haunting. It was something stranger, an inheritance, an echo of a creative soul passed across the decades into the hands of a small child. Maya never drew the house again. The day after we returned, she picked up a pencil and sketched a startlingly realistic portrait of Ben as he read the morning. Paper. The obsession was gone, but the talent, magnified 100-fold, remained. Her style, I realized with a familiar chill, was identical to the sketches in Isabel Blackwood's books. The confident lines, the deep understanding of shadow and light, it was all there. Her gift, or Isabel's gift, has transformed our lives. Our minimalist walls are now covered in her art, vibrant landscapes and portraits so alive they seem to breathe. Ben calls it a miracle. He has no other word for it. But I know the truth is more complex. I watch her now, her small, 6-year-old hand moving with the confidence of a master, her face a mask of concentration. I see the legacy of a woman she never met, a woman who died alone in a house by the sea, pouring itself out onto the page. I am the proudest mother in the world, but I am also a keeper of a profound and unsettling secret. I look at the masterpieces she creates, and I wonder, is this my daughter's gift, or is she just borrowing it? And when the painter's work is finally truly finished, Will she have to give it back?